There we go. First beer opened. Welcome back to Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. 3 races into the season, 3 different winners. We got William Byron in victory lane at Las Vegas Motor Speedway after an absolutely dominating performance by him and his Hendrick. I can't talk tonight. Hendrick Motorsports teammate Kyle Larson. They combined to lead over 230 laps of that 271 lap race. And the fans reacted as many of us would expect. 48.7% in Jeff Gluck's poll said Las Vegas was a good race. That means the majority did not think that was a good race. I thought it was a pretty good race though. And here's the thing. William Byron had the best car all weekend. And in practice, he had the best long-run speed outside of maybe like Ryan Blaney was a little bit fast up there. But Byron definitely had the car to beat. He qualified second. Once he got to the lead, he just checked out. And we all knew Kyle Larson was going to be fast. And, as we've always said, when you have a whole organization, 4 cars, and 2 of them are really fast in practice, chances are the other 2 are going to be really fast as well. However, the 4th Hendrick car that did not perform very well was the 9, not driven by Chase Elliott, because Chase Elliott broke his leg and is now out for they're expecting 6 weeks, could be longer, but that was the big news in Las Vegas before the race started. But first, we're going to talk about this race, what we expected, how things turned out. We had that late caution that I don't think should have been a caution. I thought it was an entertainment caution like NASCAR likes to do. If that was in the middle of the race, I don't think that caution would have been thrown. They wanted a final restart. They got a final restart, and we got a different winner because Kyle Larson was completely checked out. He would have won that race. Instead, William Byron, who obviously I think was the more deserving winner of that race, did end up in victory lane. He gets that first win of the season. Nick, what'd you think of that race though? Was it good? Was it bad? What'd you think?
Yeah, well, I guess I don't want to expand too much because it's gonna run over my whine about it segment, but I voted yes. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
I'll voted yes, and we'll explain why and whine about it.
Yeah. So, a couple other guys that had good races or good finishes. In addition to good races, Christopher Bell ended up with a top 5 finish. Bubba Wallace with a 4th place finish. That's always good to see. Other guys, Ross Chastain was there for most of the race, and he faded there late. Daniel Suarez had one of the best cars at the end of the race by far, ended up 10th, which was a good run for how that team qualified and ended up all day. If he would have qualified better, I think Daniel Suarez could have definitely won that race, which is something to note, going on as we continue on into this season. Justin Haley there with the top 10 finished 8th. He was running, 16th most of the day. And then that late caution, he got up there to 8th. Great run by him. I think he ended up in the optimal lineup there for DraftKings. Austin Cindric with a surprising, I'm going to call it lucky 6th place finish. He did not have that good of a car, but outside of that, I don't think there were too many big surprises out of this race. Obviously Tyler Reddick was super fast, but once he got up there to like 11th, he didn't really get higher than 11th all race. He might have had, a couple good runs, but I still think that's something to note because a lot of people were talking about Tyler Reddick early on in the season, and so far through these first 2 races, we're not seeing that speed. I would argue that Bubba Wallace is faster than Tyler Reddick these first 2 races, and will that change over the course of the year? We've talked about him being at a new team, what kind of growing pains they're going to go through, stuff like that. But yeah, overall, Vegas, like you said, we're going to get to it in the Wine About segment. One other thing to note from last weekend is Caesars once again laying some ridiculous lines. Eric Almirola was priced 35-1 in his group. I forget what he was at for a top 10. I know you hit all 3 of them. What was his top 10 odds?
10-1 for a top 10, 35-1 to win his 6-driver group, and 150-1 to finish his top Ford.
This is the second week in a row, and you have to, if this happens a third time, I have to think that they're doing it on purpose. Because there's no way that they just keep laying out these absolutely ridiculous lines.
They've been doing it since last year. It's not on purpose. It's just their algorithm. It's broken. And we take advantage of it. They did it last year for Cup, for Xfinity. for trucks occasionally. They did it for IndyCar. They did it for Cup this year. They've had some busted-ass algorithms for some of these props. Like, their outrights are, while they're, garbage because we can't bet on them because they hold way too much and stuff, at least they make sense. But post-practice qualifying especially, or when they post some props, some of their algorithms are just busted as hell, and that's great because it means we get to take advantage of it.
Yeah. But yeah, so as you alluded to, your Wine About It segment is going to be about the Las Vegas race. So we're going to go ahead right now.
Well,
and
real quick, I wanted to respond to some of those things. I wanted to respond to some of those things you mentioned because you mentioned Austin Cindric, lucky finished 6th place. I have a flags metric that I always do. Austin Cindric was 21st in track position adjusted flags, which is basically one of the truest speed metrics you can get. So Austin Cindric, very lucky 6th place finish. You mentioned Bubba Wallace you think has been faster than Tyler Reddick this year. Well, in terms of flags, Tyler Reddick was 9th in flags for this race, track position adjusted flags, because he did come from the back, but he still had a good car. I mean, he moved up into the top 10 a couple times, and then out, and then in and out of the top 10. But he was 9th in track position adjusted flags. Bubba Wallace though was 5th, so he beat Tyler Reddick. Like you said, you think Bubba's been faster. Both races this year, outside of Daytona, which doesn't count, both races this year, Bubba Wallace has been faster than Tyler Reddick in track position adjusted flags.
And that's just noteworthy going forward because Bubba Wallace has been a lot faster. And I know you wrote him up in your article. Who was your Paul Menard pick of the week? Was it him or?
It was Bubba.
It was Bubba. That's what I thought.
And Bubba ended up
for some reason I thought it was Bell.
Yeah, so Bubba ended up in the 5th place lineup, which was the 3rd best lineup because there was a 3-way tie for first, and then there was a 4th place lineup and then a 5th place lineup. So Paul Menard pick of the week this year have been kicking ass, and I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get straight into Wine About It here. Presented by Luvabella Winery, which I think everybody knows by now, but if not, we got a tweet today from someone asking why we complain so much, why we whine so much. And I know you DM'd it to me instantly, and you're like, has he not listened to Wine About It? Because it's kind of what we do. But we're both going to be trying wines tonight. I know you got that, what is it, the bourbon-aged Merlot?
Yes, bourbon barrel-aged Merlot. And
yes.
If you saw my tweets on Monday night, because I had a big betting day from the race. And we'll talk about it. We'll review the race more. I feel like I fucking nailed that race after practice and qualifying, and I think I'll tie it into your Wine About It, possibly. But so I was really happy with how the race went, obviously, from a betting perspective and from an analysis perspective. So I cracked the wine early, and I did a poll, and you all chose the bourbon barrel-aged Merlot. And if you saw my tweet, I loved it. So I'm going to pour a glass once more. Not a ton because I want to hit some beers here, but I'm going to pour a little bit more and give you my taste review. I actually recorded a taste review just in case I forgot, but I'll just do it right here. So, all right, and this is another funny part. Last week when I drank on the air, I was like, all right, I'm going to sip it or whatever, and I did it right next to the microphone, and Jim Sonis of Number Fire was like, I love the ASMR wine sip, so I'm going to have to make this a thing now. So, all right, Here's me tasting the bourbon barrel-aged Merlot from Luvabella Wines. Dude, this is incredible. So, I'm from the Southeast, right? Virginia, North Carolina. Not like the deep South, but the Southeast. And bourbon's big down there. And I've had my share of bourbon throughout my day. One thing I always know with me and drinking whiskey or bourbon, I'm going to get heartburn, acid reflux, feel the acidity, the burn from it, because bourbon does do that. And then wine can be acidic, and Merlots typically are like a medium acidity. But the thing about this Luvabella bourbon barrel aged Merlot is it's not acidic at all. I don't think I would ever get heartburn from this. It is smooth. But you can there's a very forward taste of bourbon, which I like. I think that's great. And it's tamed by the Merlot. And for some reason, that combination I've had other bourbon barrel aged red wines, not necessarily Merlots. They've been acidic and given me the heartburn type stuff, and have either been too forward on the bourbon or not forward enough. This is the perfect balance, perfect blend. Doesn't give me heartburn. I don't feel like I'm going to get heartburn from drinking it. I'm not going to drink more than a glass or two, tops, and I would sip it. But it is incredible. It is up there with my favorite wines of all time. And I say this not as them sponsoring. I will legitimately be a consumer of this forever as long as I'm around because this is so good. The only critique I have, it has that wax top, and I could not get that fucking thing off to open it to save my life. But that's a me thing because I don't know how to do that and I'm clumsy. It took me forever to figure out how the hell to open that. So that was 100% a me thing.
That's awesome. So, what's your whine about it?
So I alluded to it in the opening. I'm going to whine about the results of the Was This a Good Race poll from Jeff Gluck, because what the hell are people voting no for? What is wrong with you? That was a damn good race. So, when I look for a good race, I look for can you pass? And can you pass the leader? And while we did not have passes for the lead much, A, you could if you were faster, and B, even if Kyle Larson was faster than Byron for portions of that, I truly believe that was a Hendrick strategy to just have them race nose to tail because it helped them pull away from the field rather than battle for the lead. There was nothing to gain by gaining the lead back and forth there until the very last stint. So it made no sense for Larson to pass Byron, especially in stage 1 and 2, knowing caution flags are going to fly at the end of the stage anyway. It's just going to bunch the field back up. So getting a 15-second lead or a 12-second lead doesn't matter. You just want to stay nose to tail and just make sure you're kind of clear of the rest of the pack so you don't have to deal with any potential incidents or other guys trying to pass you. Because if Byron and Larson start slicing and dicing it, that's going to bring everybody else back up to them where they could get threatened for the lead again. So the rest of the field, though, you could pass. Look how Tyler Reddick sliced through the field early in the race. Look how Bubba Wallace made his way forward. Look how many drivers went forward. Look how many drivers went backward, especially notably the Penske cars. And it was a very good race. You could pass. There was tire fall off. The air quote minimum fall off that I saw was about 4 miles an hour from early speed to late speed, which mimicked last year's first Vegas race. And I think that's partly because it wasn't very hot. It was only in the low 60s. So there wasn't enough heat. It wasn't like an 80 plus super sunny day where there would be more fall off like there was in the playoff race. But there's still a decent amount of fall off to where you could move forward, fall back, all that stuff. And there was passing the whole race. The whole race there was passing. It just didn't happen to be for the lead. And there weren't a ton of cautions. But you know what? Last year there were a ton of cautions because of tire problems and this, that, and the other. And people hated it. Even though they voted a good race because there's cautions and it bunches things back up. They didn't like the fact there were all these tire issues. Well, everything was fixed this year. There were, 4 cautions and only 2 for cause, 2 kind of near the end of the race, essentially. And, the Joey Logano spin in stage 3 and then the Eric Almirola caution, which, you said you think was a kind of an entertainment caution. I think it's borderline. I think I could definitely see it either way. And I'm not opinionated just because of my bets or how any of that went. I'm also not I'm not influenced by my betting results either because I tweeted to somebody in the middle of the race, middle of stage 2 or beginning of stage 3. I tweeted, I think this has been a great race. I loved it. And so that was before any betting results happened. So regardless if I won my bets or not, I thought it was a great race. So I don't know what people are watching. I don't know what people want. If you don't like that race, I don't know what you want. I think you just want cautions and crashes at that point, which to me, while that's a part of racing, that's not what I want in a race. I don't want cautions and crashes. If they happen, that can make for entertainment, especially if it comes from hard racing. But that doesn't make it a good race for me. So I cannot understand somebody who voted no for that. Can't at all.
Mm-mm. Well, and here's the thing. This is our first race of the season. We didn't get qualifying or practice at Auto Club. We got it at Las Vegas. And you know what? The best cars started up front. They were all there, and that's why it was a quote-unquote boring race, because nobody had major issues, there weren't wrecks, and all the fast cars were up front. So that's what's going to happen. Like I said, William Byron was the best car all weekend. It was not it should not have been a surprise to anybody. Yes, people might have been surprised that he dominated as much as he did, but nobody should have been surprised that he had that fast of a car because he's always been good at Vegas. I think he's led now in like 6 straight races there, and he started second, had a great was great in practice, and did what he did during the race. So I think the big thing is most of the people voting in this poll are hoping for wrecks and hoping for all the cautions, which, yes, like you said, that can be exciting. The late restarts can be exciting. Obviously, we saw the whole field get all jumbled up compared to where they were running before what I call the entertainment caution there for Eric Almirola. But the fact of the matter is the best cars pretty much finished up front outside of, the guys that kind of fell back on that final restart and the Penske cars that just seemed to fade and not do well throughout the day, which was, we're going to get to that later, I know, because there was a specific question on Twitter about that. But yeah, that's all it is. I think that poll is a lot of casual fans sitting there saying, I didn't see any wrecks, so it sucked. It was all green flag. It was drivers turning left and going fast all day. Well, you know what? If you're a NASCAR fan, I think that was a very good race. I wouldn't sit there and say it was amazing, but it was good.
I don't know if it was a bunch of casuals though, because I don't typically think casuals are voting in Jeff Gluck's poll.
You could be right. Yeah, you might be right there.
I just don't see. If you're a NASCAR fan, I don't see what was wrong with that race. I thought it was an amazing race. So. That's my whine about it. What the hell are you thinking?
Yeah. My wine that I'm trying tonight, and I have yet to try this one, it's the Passion Line Strawberry Lemonade. I have not had this one yet. It smells pretty good. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if am I going to do the ASMR like you do?
Whatever you want.
That's smooth. That's
nice.
Smooth. It's a little bubbly. It reminds me a little bit like a little like champagne-y. Oh, but you get that strawberry. By the way, I don't really like wine. I did not start liking wine until I tried these wines. And like Nick said, we are not being influenced by this sponsorship at all. I genuinely do not like wines, but their Purple Rain is my all-time favorite
Purple
wine.
Rain
I'll
is
drink it
so
whenever.
good. Yeah.
Yes. But this might be my new favorite, to be honest with you. This is, the more I'm drinking it, it's very good.
I'll show you this too, for those of you watching on YouTube. I have it in my Bristol Club bourbon glass that I got from Bristol Motor Speedway.
This is really good. Wow. That's dangerous. But, okay, my wine about it. I was going to drink other stuff. I might just drink this bottle. But my wine about it is, I have a couple things. I could go off on the caution. I did not think it was necessary, but that seems pretty standard for my complaining. I could talk about Fox's broadcast and not showing the running order for the entire green, white, checkered. You had no idea where anybody was. But I'm not gonna talk about that extensively. We all know how I feel about Fox and their broadcast. I don't understand why they can't get the running order in the first couple laps of a run. But no, my whine about it is going to actually be whining about myself, because my projections and what I wrote up, I feel like I wrote up Byron, I wrote up Larson, I wrote up Reddick. Obviously Reddick was the play. I got very busy. One, I was very hungover on Sunday, and I was very busy. I did not have time to do much. I literally, I played the Buddha Man contest, and then I reserved 20 lineups in the 20 entry max $4. I was putting lineups in on my phone, and you know how much of a pain in the ass that is when you have 20 there to put in, because you can't even tell which ones don't have a lineup, Mm-hmm. And I was like, literally, you can ask my friends, I was like about to pass out standing there because this is how shitty I felt on Sunday. But so I'm just sitting there, kind of just going by memory and what my projections were, because obviously I had a very good idea of that. If I would have been able to spend the time on Sunday to truly play DFS like I know how to do, I feel like I could have absolutely crushed in DFS and had a very big day. So I'm whining about myself not making enough time to do the line. I know this is going to be so weird for people to hear. I'm just frustrated with myself that I did not take the time to do it because, man, I know I could have had a big week, but it could have went the other way. You know, I could have been completely off, but that's one of those weeks I wish I had back. You know, that's my line about
right
it.
there with you, but not in the way that I feel like I analyzed it really well and had bad results. I all week was like, I don't want to bet too much too early. And I ended up with 11 pre-practice qualifying bets. And while I made 7.5 units on those bets, sorry, I missed one of them. Sorry, there were 12 pre-practice qualifying bets. And while I made 6.5 units, 6.6 technically, I only went 1, 2, 3, 4 for 12 on those bets. So I hit a third of them, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 12 for 6.6 units. The bets I made after practice and qualifying, or during practice in some cases with the William Byron bet, I made 29.8 units, and I went 3 for 8, which is a higher percentage than 4 for 12. So part of that was just the Almirola stuff we could take advantage of, but I also just felt like my analysis after practice and qualifying was spot on, and I probably could have found more edges, but I was already kind of loaded up on bets to where I didn't want to bet more after practice and qualifying because I'd done too much too early in the week. So I'm mad at myself about that because I analyzed this race after practice and qualifying about as well as you can, and I think we'll talk about it. But looking at the 5-lap, the 10-lap, looking at the raw times are nice, but there's more to it than looking at the raw times, and that's where I felt like I had the edge. I was looking at the fall-off between those, and that gave us another significant edge to where I was fading the Fords and I was on the Toyotas, and the Chevys were fine. They were the Chevys, obviously. That was the big edge going into race day, and I don't think I wrote up a single Ford driver in my Fantasy Labs article, and we talked about the Paul Menard pick of the week. We talked about, you wrote up Byron. I wrote up Byron in cash, which I think was awesome because he absolutely crushed it. And, my tournament picks were totally fine. So I was very, very happy with my process, but I didn't listen to myself. I didn't stay disciplined enough early in the week. So I'm really trying to do that this week. I'm really trying to stay disciplined, and we'll talk about Phoenix, but trying to stay incredibly disciplined because there is going to be a lot of unknown with the new aero package going into Phoenix.
Yeah. And I think, a big thing also this early in the season, it's a lot easier to not get aggressive because there is still that factor of unknown. But when, these two races, I think I saw a tweet, talking about this previous weekend Las Vegas race. Basically, the same 6 cars that were fast in the first Las Vegas race last year were the fast cars this year. And I feel like it was kind of similar to Auto Club as well in that regard. Obviously Reddick had the best car last year. Kyle Busch had the best car this year. And Ross Chastain too. Because Ross Chastain was fast in both Auto Club races as well. So definitely things to consider and talk about there moving forward. But like you said, we have new package for this weekend at Phoenix. And
I was just saying I lied. I did write up Chris Buescher. But I didn't hate that. He faded at the end, but he was pretty good for some of that race. But
yeah.
But that was just a tournament play. I thought he was going to be really low owned, and he was relative to the other drivers in his price range. So didn't feel too bad about that, I guess.
And Keselowski was running top 10 for a lot of the day, but yeah, that last restart really kind of screwed a lot of things up. But that's going to wrap up the Wine About It segment this week. As you guys know, Luvabella wines can be found in Kroger, Meijer, Walmart, several states, including North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. They also ship you can get these wines shipped to you, and I will drop that link on Twitter and probably on YouTube as well if I remember to put it in the description. But like we said, we are not. There will be times that I try a wine on here and say that it's not good. It's just honest. I'm not a big wine guy. So trust us when we say that these wines that we're talking about, these wines we're trying on here are very good. And if you can get them shipped directly to your door, they are very affordable. Trust me. I have told the person that co-owns the company that she needs to raise their prices. That's how good these wines are. So make sure you check them out. They're a great partner for this podcast and allow us to whine about it every single week.
Yes.
But, going on, I know you had a couple more things to say about this race. Was there anything else in particular with Las Vegas that you wanted to talk about before we get to the standings and how this season's going so far?
Not too much. Mostly just around my, adjusted speed metric. So my flags, field level adjusted green speed, is what flags stand for. Metric, it only looks at healthy car laps. So if a car wrecked or a car had a major problem or even a medium problem where it affects their speed, those laps don't count anymore. So I'm only looking at what their true speed was, and I'm adjusting it to the field during those specific laps. So it is a very lap-by-lap metric. And one thing that was very notable, Joey Logano, obviously I didn't include his numbers after his crash and after his problem. He was 18th in flags this week. 18th. That's not good. Ryan Blaney, 14th. And the reason Blaney still looks good on the season-long metric is because he had, a really good car at Vegas and ended up having a problem. So Blaney had one bad race in terms of flags. 14th is not where he wants to be running in terms of, approximate speed in the rankings. And he had number one speed in Vegas simply because the few laps he did run, he was arguably better than Chastain or Kyle Busch, especially adjusting for track position there. So it's interesting to see how bad the Fords were. And Denny Hamlin on his podcast mentioned that the Fords are probably going to continue to struggle at these intermediate tracks, especially ones that don't have the same kind of fall off that Auto Club does. So Kansas, we could see this, maybe a Charlotte, maybe a Texas, something like that, because for whatever reason, he thinks the Chevys, Denny Hamlin mentioned this, Chevys have the aero advantage, and then the Toyotas are close. And I saw Ryan from My Fantasy Race tweet this out. So I think it was him. So, it's just one of those where Denny Hamlin kind of says, this is what we're going to see in these intermediate tracks, non-Auto Club, because Auto Club chews up tires so much. And I just think it's going to be possibly something that we see going forward is these Fords were not good, and the Chevys have been the class of the field. If you look at flags over the course of the two races, Auto Club in Las Vegas, I think Chevy takes up 7 of the top 10 spots or something like that. At least half, definitely more than half. I think 7 of the top 10. I tweeted it out earlier. I don't have the exact number, but let me go pull it up here. So let's see. Number 1, Larson's a Chevy. Number 2, Chastain's a Chevy. Number 3, Bowman's a Chevy. Number 6, Byron's a Chevy. Number 7, Suarez is a Chevy. Number 9, Kyle Busch is a Chevy. And number 10, Chase Elliott, who only ran one race, is a Chevy. So, 7 of the top 10 are Chevys in speed this year between the two races.
Which is interesting because if you remember back to Daytona week, he said that Ford had the aero advantage, and everybody made a big deal about that.
In qualifying.
Yeah. And I think that's where people are getting a little confused because,
and we did see the Ford win the pole there.
Now. Yeah. And they looked great even in race. I remember looking at them in the duels. I'm like, yeah, they are strong for sure. But, definitely it's not, the speed's not exactly there for though. Harvick I think he finished 5th at Auto Club. He ended up 9th here in Vegas. That's one guy, but, other than that, that kind of like brings us to a question that we got. It was one of my favorites that we got this week. And it was, how does the car go out and look like Joey or Blaney did in practice and then do as bad as they did in the race? Are there any tells that you look for to see what speed will translate? And that's a difficult thing because when you look at, practice speeds, there was not a ton of reason to hate the Penske Fords. I think they fell off a little bit more than everybody else, if I remember right. But other than that, as far as this specific scenario, I feel like this happens a lot with Penske. They'll go out there and they'll be blazing fast in practice and then just lose it in the race. And they'll do the opposite. They'll look like shit in practice and then turn up and win the race. It's really weird, and it seems like a Penske thing, and it has been like that for a while. But that's my non-scientific analysis. I know you really like this question. Do you have a more better answer than me sitting here saying this is what I see?
Well, look at the 10 lap and 5 lap, but not the raw times. Like I said, don't just look at the fact that Blaney was second in 10 lap. Look at what happened from his 5 lap to his 10 lap. He lost more than 0.2 of a second average. So to lose more than 0.2 of a second average over 5 more laps, that means you lost more than a full second over those 5 laps. Not on each lap, but total. So he gave up a full second compared to what he did on the first 5 laps to the second 5 laps. More than a second. Whereas somebody like Christopher Bell had 0.05 drop off. So if you multiply that by 0.5 or by 5 laps, he only lost a quarter of a second from laps 1 through 5 to laps 6 through 10. So a quarter second versus more than a second. Bell basically gained a second, almost a second, on Ryan Blaney or on Joey Logano over laps 6 through 10 in practice. That's huge. That tells me long run speed was with the Toyotas. And the Chevys, they were kind of in between on the fall off, but they were just so fast in general that their extra fall off didn't matter. So you need to balance the raw speed with the fall off at tracks that have fall off. And that's what led me to stay away from Blaney, stay away from Logano. And it's one thing if it's one driver because it might be an aberration. Maybe they had like a really bad lap or something. But when both teammates show it, or all 3 teammates, or all the Fords, or show fall off, or when all the Toyotas don't show fall off, that tells me it is a manufacturer thing or a team thing, at least, So it's one thing if it's like, okay, Martin Truex Jr. had, and I noticed this with the Toyotas, Truex had monstrous fall off between his 5 and 10 lap, and I'm like, but he was the only Toyota that did, so I'm guessing there was a bad lap in there. And sure enough, he looked great in the race. So I think that was just partially a bad lap. But I look for the broader picture with these teams or these manufacturers. And I was noticing the Fords, they were 3rd in fall off. The only one that didn't really fall off was Almirola. And I don't know what happened to him in the race because he was fast in practice and he had very little fall off. But yeah, he just didn't quite translate to the race. Now he was still 15th in my track position adjusted flags out of 36 cars, but that's certainly not where he was in practice. But by and large, you got to look at raw speed and the fall off because that'll give you a much better idea. And that's what led me to jump all over the Toyotas and to just continue to stay on Larson and Byron and to kind of not get on Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney here.
Yeah, that's a very good way. Like it's so easy to just look at the practice results sheet PDF and Blaney had second best or the best 10 lap average. He must be really fast. We now have this. You can go NASCAR.com. They put 5, 10, 15 lap averages. You can now go and see all these differences. It's not that hard. They're not hiding it as much as they were anymore, or as much as they used to. But
and we'll get some tracks where we get long runs like Richmond. We'll get 20, 25, 30 lap practice runs. We'll be able to plot the whole trajectory from that, and you'll be able to really see like, okay, yeah, just because this guy had the best 20 lap average. If you look at, his fall off, it's like straight up, whereas another guy is much more flatlined or something. So it'll be interesting to look at some more of these tracks, especially the shorter tracks like mile or less.
A couple other surprises this week. Kyle Busch, I think he ended up being the favorite after he was one of the favorites. RCR did not have speed. Austin Dillon was absolutely junk in this race. Kyle Busch started 5th. He ended up 14th. He finished 9th in stage 1, probably due to the track position of his starting, but he was not in any way a contender. Ty Gibbs sucks as usual. Started 4th, and I think he was back to 10th within like lap 3.
Yeah.
Just absolute garbage human being and driver. Who else? Josh Berry. He was in that 9, and he basically said, he's trying not to tear it up, and I think he ended up getting the wall early, and I don't think a lot of people were expecting much out of Josh Berry. He might have been a decent DFS play in some people's minds because he started back in 32nd, but getting thrown into that car, yes, it's Chase Elliott's car. It's going to have speed, but getting thrown in there last minute like that, typically does not work out. So it will be interesting to see.
I got a really interesting question for you because you mentioned Ty Gibbs was garbage. You mentioned Josh Berry wasn't good. Look at the guys that are like first or second year drivers that have come from Xfinity, maybe Trucks in Gilliland's case, but like Burton, Gregson, Cindric as well, in addition to Ty Gibbs and Josh Berry and Noah Gregson, right? Like they've all been pretty bad in Cup so far. Austin Cindric is nowhere near his teammates. Nowhere near his teammates.
No.
And the reason I say these first and second year drivers is because that's the next gen car started last year, right? So Justin Haley you could throw in there, but I think he's arguably been the difference. But the Cup guys who have been around for more than 2 years are just smashing it. So I don't know what it is, but I feel like if you're Ty Gibbs, Xfinity champion, Austin Cindric, Xfinity champion, Noah Gregson, however many gazillion time winner in Xfinity, you should be doing better than you are, even relative to your equipment. Like Noah Gregson is nowhere near Eric Jones. And I understand rookie, second year, that stuff happens. All these drivers progress, but there have been drivers that have been good to great in their rookie years, and we're not seeing that from any of these. I don't know if it's something about the next gen car. Is it that different from the Xfinity car? What do you think?
Is it because they are in such high level equipment in the lower series that there's such?
But Ty Gibbs is in the highest level equipment there is in Cup.
I know, but there was such a gap between the car he had in Xfinity and the car he has now compared to the middle of the
Right,
field.
right.
You look at the middle of the field for Xfinity,
Yeah.
compared to the middle of the field of Cup, it's
agree
night
with
and day.
Yeah.
So
no, after about 13 cars in Xfinity, there's nothing. Whereas in Cup,
exactly.
You're right. There's not 40. There's 26 or something, or more.
And you talk about the guys first couple of years that don't do well. One that's kind of not fit that mold and has shown promise and actually won last year. Chase Briscoe.
Yeah,
I'd say he's
what, third year driver now. So
this is his third season. Yeah. So last year was his second season. I feel like last year was kind of, I wouldn't say breakout, but I mean, he had for what Stuart Haas was last year, and compared to what we're seeing out of Ty Gibbs and these guys, Noah Gregson and everything, I feel like he is significantly better than where those guys are at or were at, or
at least was until this
saying.
year, because that car has been junk this year. He's
Yes.
30th in flags this year between those two races.
That makes no sense to me either. Because Almirola had speed this week, but yeah,
I'm curious.
Briscoe's
if you're listening to the podcast, let me know your thoughts. Throw it on YouTube, tweet us. Because it's kind of a trend I've noticed. Like these young guys I feel like they're worse than other young guys that have come up recently. I mean, like Kyle Larson kicked ass in year 1 or 2. He didn't necessarily win, but he had great runs. Same with Tyler Reddick, right? Same with some of these other young guns that William Byron, had some good, obviously good equipment, but good runs. Ty Gibbs has one top 10 in his first 16 races with a good team. Or two good teams. But, I mean, let's be real. 23XI is an extension of JGR. He has one top 10 in his first 16 races. And for as, air quote, bad as Joey Logano was when he was a rookie, he had 3 top 10s in his first 16 races with JGR. So, and he got the boot from JGR eventually after 4 years. So, I just, to me, it's very, very interesting how much this rookie and second-year crop has struggled.
I think a big part of it, I'm going to stick with it, is there is just not competition in Xfinity Series, and I'm going to tie this right back into Kyle Busch not racing in there.
Mm-hmm.
These guys have no reason to get better while they're in Xfinity. They have no competition. They're racing against the same guys every week, and I think they get to Cup and they haven't gotten better. Yes, they were dominant, but it's all dominant on what you're compared to. I always
compared to each other.
Yeah. And I always made the comparison, Christopher Bell, when he was in that 20 car, was absolutely dominant in Xfinity Series. And then who took over for him after it? Was it, I don't want to say Hendrick.
It was Harrison Burton.
I'm losing
right?
my. Yeah. Was it?
It was Harrison Burton.
In the 20?
Burton in the 20 car, yeah.
Okay. And they kept talking about how very good Harrison Burton is and all this other shit. No, he just took a dominant car and made it a 5th place car every week. That doesn't make you a good driver. Like, I honestly think that's where it's at. There's just no competition down there.
But Ty Gibbs elevated, the 18 or whatever it was, 54, whatever the numbers end up turning into in Xfinity. I don't really care, but you get the idea. He turned a meh car into a really good one. I think it was, wasn't that the ride that Daniel Hemrick had or something, and then he made it really good again. But the whole point is, even Ty Gibbs, even Austin Cindric, the two best so far of the first or second year crop, are sitting 21st and 22nd in flags from these two races.
Yeah, it's interesting, and this new car probably has a lot to do with it. But looking at the standings now through 3 races. Why is Racing Reference only showing 2 races?
Racing Reference is so broken this year because NASCAR took it over and messed it up.
Let me pull up.
I lied. Cindric's 21st, and I lied. I said 21st and 22nd. That was AutoClub. Cindric's 21st. Ty Gibbs is 25th in flags this year. Noah Gregson's 29th. Josh Berry's 30th, but he's only had 1 race. Harrison Burton's 31st. Todd Gillen 32nd. So, yeah, this young crop is just not cutting it. And Chase Briscoe's 33rd from the 2 races. That's just rough. Corey LaJoie's shout out to Corey LaJoie. He's in 20th in flags from the 2 normal races.
Yeah, Corey LaJoie, people are not realizing, I saw a tweet from Ryan from My Fantasy Race, and let me find it really quick when it comes to Corey LaJoie. And it was from like Bristol of last year onward.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, am I going to be able to find this quick or not? Oh, I know I retweeted it. There we go. Since last fall at Bristol and taking out Talladega, Corey LaJoie has an average finish of 17.8, which when you take into account what that car is just absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But, all right, now that I got the point standings up, since Racing Reference is garbage, Ross Chastain's leading the way. Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez, Martin Truex Jr. are top 5. Leaders in top 10s for the year. 2 drivers with 3 of them through the first 3 races. Alex Bowman, our preseason pick to have a breakout year. Yep. And Daniel Suarez, like we talked about, that last run at Las Vegas, that 4th quarter of the race, Daniel Suarez was stupidly fast. That team either found something or it was weird because that's when Chastain fell off.
Yeah.
Suarez got super fast. Chastain fell off. It was weird.
It was weird.
Harvick, Bell.
And I was surprised when I read flags because I did not expect Suarez to be in the top 10. But that 4th quarter elevated him into the top 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he would have qualified better, I honestly think he could have contended there. Harvick, Bell, Logano, all with 2 top 10s so far. Only a couple drivers with 2 top 5s, Alex Bowman, Christopher Bell. Obviously pretty early to talk about this, but Byron picks up 2 stage wins. Chastain has 3 of them now. Byron swept all 3 stages, by the way. That first week at Daytona, we had that bet no driver to win 2+ stages. These last 2 races, we had Chastain win 2 and we had Byron win 3. So just something, to look
I keep
for
refreshing FanDuel, by the way.
Someone tweeted us and said they were up, and I went and looked, and there's nothing. So I don't know if it's
there's no props on FanDuel. There's no props on FanDuel while recording this. I think they were messaging about Caesars or something. I saw the tweet.
Oh, okay.
It was about Caesars, but it's not about FanDuel. FanDuel doesn't have any of the props up. Caesars, they always get a bump earlier, but Caesars is always Sometimes FanDuel has some really good odds on T10s, and then also sometimes they have interesting lines on props, like we had for Daytona.
But kind of noteworthy, these guys up front here have, yes, it's earlier on in the season, but they have a pretty decent point advantage over the rest of the field. You go back to Buescher, who's in 10th, he's 39 points behind Chastain. Bowman's right up there, but then again, you got Harvick, Suarez, Truex all within that 20 point behind range. So maybe it's just Chastain doing that well. But yeah, one thing I want to bring up, I noticed today, I don't know if it's across all books. I didn't take the time to look. I know at BetMGM, it's true. Kyle Busch is now the championship favorite for 2023. And I don't agree with that at all.
No, not at all.
I do not agree with that. And I feel like hopefully that can open up some value on other drivers. And,
since when is an RCR car a championship favorite? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Kyle Busch is a very talented driver, but we know he's falling off through the latter portion of his career. That's not a debatable fact. He is over the hump on the age curve, and his win totals at JGR have fallen off. It's not like it was just last year or anything like that. And it's not like just JGR just screwed him over last year. It has been falling for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And then look at this year. Just look at the 2 races. Yeah, he was arguably the best car in one of the races, along with Chastain and maybe Blaney if he had a full race. And Suarez was really good, especially in track position adjusted flags in the first race. But this next race, he wasn't so good. So if we take all the laps total between the 2 races, Kyle Busch is sitting in 9th right now, which, while that's not bad at all, it's not the championship favorite.
There we go. Number 2. Yeah, I was very surprised when I saw that. Especially, I could see maybe that if he would have had a good run at Vegas, but he wasn't good. He was not good at all in that race. So, maybe books are reacting to this Chase Elliott thing, and that's kind of what I want to talk about now is going into Chase Elliott, because obviously that's a pretty big story.
Can we real quick just on these standings? I want to touch on Alex Bowman here. I want to touch on Alex Bowman, and then we'll go to Chase Elliott.
Okay. I knew you
Alex Bowman
touch
right
on
now.
Alex Bowman.
Yeah. Alex Bowman, his sum of his 3 finishes, 5, 8, and 3, is 16. There are only 4 other drivers, and they're the other 4 in the top 5. There are only 4 other drivers that have all their finishes better than 16th. And Alex Bowman's sum of his finishes is 16.
Total.
Yeah.
Total.
So the other top 5 drivers, Ross Chastain, Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez, and Martin Truex Jr., all have finished better than 16th every race. Now, Martin Truex Jr., the sum of his finishes is still 33. He's at a 15, 11, and a 7. So his is more than double Alex Bowman's right now. Like, Alex Bowman, best average finish in the series. Daniel Suarez, of course, second best because he has those 3 top 10s. His sum of finishes is 21, so you divide that by 3, it is 7 for an average finish. But, yeah, Alex Bowman, man, I told you coming into the season, I was high on him. You were high on him with the whole Blake Harris news, and the speed is there if we look at flags between the 2 races. So just between Vegas and Auto Club, if we look at flags, Alex Bowman is number 3. So I really hope, if you're playing fantasy or season-long fantasy or DFS or you're betting, you're getting in on the Alex Bowman train because he is looking very strong so far. And it's not just finishes. I mean, like I said, flags is a speed-adjusted metric for how you're running lap by lap compared to everybody else. He's third.
Mm-hmm. This and what's funny is I don't know if this week will be a test, but it'll definitely be interesting to see how much speed he has, because outside of that one race in 2016 here at Phoenix, he's been garbage at this racetrack compared to where he probably should be being in a Hendrick car. So, and Michael McDowell has never been good at. I'm going to bring back in Michael McDowell here because that's who Alex Bowman's new crew chief is who Michael McDowell had last year. Michael McDowell has never been good at Phoenix, and he did not improve with Blake Harris last year. Correct. So, definitely something. Everybody's always going to go back to that. Well, Alex Bowman was good that one year. He had Junior's car, and that car was ridiculously fast at Phoenix during that time period. So, yeah. But Chase Elliott, we're going to get to Chase Elliott now. Broke his leg, supposedly out for 6 weeks. It would take. I'm not a doctor, but there are a lot of doctors on Twitter. There's a lot of people. I know a few people in the medical industry that said 3 hours for a broken leg. He's not coming back anytime soon. Kyle Busch was out 6 months with his broken legs. Now, obviously, he had a pretty bad injury with his legs, but I just feel like 6 weeks is really pushing it for him to come back. We're going to get Josh Berry in that car for most of the races, and then who's coming in for the road course?
Jordan Taylor, who's a sports car guy, and I think he's running the Project 56 or whatever it's called.
By the way, okay, I was not fully paying attention today, but there was a lot of talk on Twitter about Corey LaJoie taking, what? Why did people think Corey LaJoie was going to jump in?
Dude, his odds got bet down like crazy today. So
he was 30 to 1 at Caesars.
I admittedly threw $5 on him when he was 500 to 1. Because why not? Like, I very much understand the Chase Elliott car was up for grabs, potentially not up for grabs, but you know what I mean, uncertain. So I said at 500 to 1, yeah, I'm willing to buy into the uncertainty for $5. And I even, in my Action Network, write-up or whatever on the app when you make a pick, I said, I do not recommend this play in like all caps. I was like, I'm just gambling, speculating, because if there's a 1% chance, maybe not 1%, but like if there's a 5% chance Corey LaJoie's in that car, then 500 to 1 is value. It was a pure, I don't mind throwing away $5 here on a gamble, but I was not going to sit there and bet a good chunk on a top 10 or bet on Corey LaJoie at 200 to 1 or 100. Like, if you want to throw a buck, sure, I don't care if you're 200 to 1 odds, whatever. But it got out of control to the point where I watched Corey LaJoie's odds. He moved from 8 to 1 for a top 10 at Caesars to plus 140, I think it was. I have it in my Slack messages history because I was talking to some of my coworkers. I think he ended up at plus 140 for a top 10. Plus 140. What are you doing? And there was a point where it was plus 240. So that means people were betting on him at plus 240. And then he ended up at plus 140. Yeah. He got to plus 240, and then I saw him under plus 200 at one point. I think maybe it was plus 180 or whatever. But what?
Why? What is going on?
Based off of what? It makes no sense.
I think it was wasn't it a Carson host of our tweet that started this whole speculation? Yeah.
I feel like that's what it was, because it was after that tweet started getting driven down, and it went from 8 to 1 to 335 or something to 240 to 180 or 60 or 40 or whatever it was. And his top Chevy went from plus 150 to 28 to I didn't see all the in-betweens, but down to 28 to 1. And then down to I didn't see after that, but I know it went lower. But what? I was considering his 150 to 1, and I was ready to fire in case any news broke, but I wasn't gonna fire, right? I 500 to 1 to win the race, $5, I'm good with it. Anything else, especially given the uncertainty of this race, just in general, I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need to bet it down to 40 to 1. He got down to 40 to 1 at DraftKings outright. What? Why? Corey LaJoie got 40 to 1 based off what? A tweet from a truck driver who the tweet ended up actually being about the fact that he's driving the 77 car instead of Corey LaJoie number 7. Like, come on. The Xfinity 77 car, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I opened up Twitter and saw all these tweets, and at first I didn't know why anybody was tweeting about it. I'm like, there's no chance Corey LaJoie goes. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
I thought it made some sense.
To put him over Josh Berry?
Josh Berry is not young. He's 31 years old. I feel like it would make more sense to keep that 9 car in contention for the Owners' Championship. And I think Corey LaJoie would do a better job of that than Josh Berry, based off where they are in their careers, based off what we've seen with the rookies doing. Josh Berry was out to lunch last week. It wasn't good at all. So I felt like it would be a lot better to put Corey LaJoie. I was hoping Eric Jones would go over there and they could work out a deal with Legacy where Eric Jones could go over there and maybe Jimmy Johnson would fill in the Eric Jones ride or something like that. Because remember last year, Noah Gragson filled in for Alex Bowman. And then
that was the speculation that I thought made sense. People were saying maybe Johnson's going to fill in for Elliott. I was like, that would make sense to me.
I would have thought it would make more sense for Eric Jones because Eric Jones is good. He's not retired. He's not old. He's not out of it. I feel like Eric Jones could keep that 9 car in championship contention. And I thought, well, then why don't you just throw Jimmy in the 43 then? It makes a lot of sense, and Legacy benefits from that. There probably could be some monetary thing that works out. That was my personal, I would love this scenario because I'm very high on Eric Jones, obviously. But I could have seen Jimmy going in there. I could have seen Noah Gragson going in there. I could have seen Corey LaJoie going in there just for the same reason. And then Spire just calls up somebody else to run in that car. Landon Castle ran there last year. Why not him or something like that? But because it could have benefited Spire very handsomely to have LaJoie fill in there because Spire would be losing their man, and I think they would get a nice deal from Hendrick. But ends up it's just Josh Berry, which is fine. I just don't think it makes sense long term. I mean, the guy is not exactly going to be a young rookie if he gets a full-time Cup ride next year. He'll be 32 going on 33 as a rookie in the Cup Series.
That's who we got, though. But this spurred a question, another good question that we got on Twitter. We don't like betting championship outrights this early in the season. But with how long Chase Elliott could be out, it's minimum 6 weeks. And that's obviously going to affect how many playoff points he could get to rack up during that time. At what point do you consider betting Chase Elliott? Where does he have to get for you to bet him to win the championship this year?
I don't know. It all depends. If you think 6 weeks, then I don't know, 16. If you think it's going to be 12 weeks, then I don't know. I have no interest. I don't care. That's my honest answer. I have no interest and I don't care. So betting Chase Elliott futures is not a thing I'm thinking about right now.
Futures is what I was trying to say before. Couldn't think of it.
Yeah.
So if he would be 25 to 1 somewhere, you wouldn't touch that?
I don't think so. Do we really think he's going to be? Do we really think he's going to be as effective as he is at road courses with a shattered leg?
Do we know which leg he broke?
That's a good question. Let me take a look.
And Ryan from My Fantasy Race made a good point. He might be coming back and racing.
His left leg.
Okay, so I was kind of hoping it'd be his right. Because I feel like the left is a little more effective for braking at road courses. You know what I mean?
Like
using your left,
if you break your right leg, it's not a big deal because you're just kind of laying on the gas at ovals.
Yeah, that's what
yeah. But at road courses, you're definitely working that left leg with the clutch, the brakes. Interesting.
Yeah, but that's something Ryan from My Fantasy Race pointed out. You know, maybe he's going to be racing in a boot or in a cast.
Oh, he'll definitely be racing in a boot for a while. I would guess.
So that's
definitely, I guess.
You know, we make a big deal, or there's been a big deal made. You know, Kyle Larson, when he was with Ganassi, he wasn't allowed to race the extracurricular races that he wanted to. And, you know, Kyle Busch made a comment about what happened with Chase Elliott this past weekend. You know, these guys can't just sit at home and sit in a bubble. Like, shit happens sometimes, and unfortunately, this happened. Does this change your mind at all on whether these drivers should be able to do, you know, some of the, you know, the extra races?
No,
because Kyle Busch had a great response. I thought he said, you know, when he got injured in that car, he's like, I have free reign now to do whatever I want because I got injured in your race car. I didn't get injured outside of it.
Yeah.
So I've never agreed
Carson
with that.
Hocevar last year broke his leg in the truck. These cars aren't invincible. Denny Hamlin, you know, blew his knee out twice playing basketball, but Brad Keselowski broke his ankle or something and then won the race. Carson Hocevar broke his leg and had some good finishes in the Truck Series. These injuries, while they suck, while they're terrible, while they certainly are not good, once the driver is able to come back from them, it hasn't really shown to be a performance detriment. Mm-mm. It just means the races you miss are the races you miss. But in some ways, I almost feel like drivers have performed better with injuries. Like, it's so weird. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't.
You go back,
especially now with NASCAR's playoff format. Like, it doesn't hurt as much.
The only thing it hurts is him not getting the playoff points. But if we get the same scenario as last year, where it's so even, it's not going to matter come playoff time. As long as he gets into the playoffs. And I haven't seen that he's actually gotten a waiver, but we all know he's getting a waiver. Like, there's 0% chance that he's not getting a waiver. But yeah, we saw Kyle Busch win the championship after, you know, destroying both of his legs. So, yeah, I don't think this hurts Chase Elliott's chances for a championship at all.
I want to shout out Aaron. I think it's Aaron Bearden is his name on Twitter, because somebody else, I don't know who it was, he quote tweeted whoever it was, posted like all of the NASCAR playoff waivers throughout history since they've done the waivers for Xfinity trucks and Cup. And the only one that didn't go through was Grant Enfinger, because he didn't run a race because he didn't have the sponsorship. So Aaron Bearden tweeted, the only waiver that's ever not been given is because the driver's been poor. Like, pretty much any other reason, unless you're poor, you'll get a waiver.
That's funny.
Now, obviously, there haven't been drivers that have missed for failed drug tests or anything like that these days. I assume those wouldn't get granted. But you get the idea. Like, if you have any sort of legitimate reason other than I don't have sponsorship, I don't have a ride, you get the waiver.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 0% chance that Chase Elliott does not get this waiver. Another question we had: how long can Chevy keep up this absolute dominance?
I don't know.
I always default to my original answer. The big changes in this season come around race 12, Coca-Cola 600. That's when we always see a shift. So I think it's going to be Chevy for the most part. Now, will it still be Chevy at Phoenix with this new package and everything? We have no idea. Yeah. But, you know, as far as the intermediates and everything else, the advantage is there, and I think it continues. I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Yeah,
these teams have the cars that they have, and nothing's going to immediately change.
It'll depend. I mean, obviously, if it is an aero advantage, like Denny Hamlin says, it's not going to matter as much at the shorter tracks, flatter tracks, especially Bristol Dirt. road courses potentially. So there's some races here where things will even out. Obviously, we have Bristol Dirt, we have COTA coming up, we have Atlanta Pseudo Speedway. So we've got some races where this is going to balance out. But you're right. I think at the bigger, just the classic intermediates, especially the non-high tire wear ones, I think it's probably Chevy going to be the advantage with Toyota next and Ford third. But there'll be changes. I just don't know how much the changes will be at these types of tracks, given that the Ford nose change seems to make them faster on a single lap, but is not as efficient necessarily on downforce, which hurts them over the long run when the tires are going, because then you need that extra downforce. So, nice. That's not a beer, by the way, I don't think. But it's tough to say. I agree with you on that point, but at the same time, it all just depends on how Ford is able to adapt to the nose change, I think, and make it more effective in a race condition.
Mm-hmm. By the way, this is shout out Tyler Reddick. This is a hard monster. If you haven't tried these, they're really good. So I really like the peach and I really like the regular green, but they're all really good. They're also 6% alcohol. So I was shotgunning these during the Daytona 500.
Oh no!
And exactly, exactly.
Like, I like to have my drinks. And I can have quite a bit, but when I do have quite a bit, it's usually lighter beer these days because I'm not getting any younger, and I don't like feeling like absolute garbage crap the next day. So it's been a while since I've been like, God, I'm hungover. Like, it's probably been close to a year. I legitimately don't know if I've been like, holy crap, I feel like death, and maybe like since the Coca-Cola 600 when we were hanging out.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin won for us, and then you became a Denny Hamlin fan again. Not again, but for the first time ever.
I haven't felt like that in 2 days. That's how long it's been since my last bad hangover.
It's like the Twitter meme, like, days since last shit happened on Twitter, 0 days. That's like... Yeah. Jordan and I are both drinking. That's why you heard nothing there for those 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But that's what you get listening to Stacking Dennys. You get NASCAR talk, and we love NASCAR, but like, we're also who we are. So we're gonna complain. We're gonna drink. Yes. We're gonna get tangents. Yeah. And that's hopefully that's what you love about Stacking Dennys. But again, by the way, third most downloaded episode. Yeah.
What is going on? This doesn't make any sense. Like, obviously, like, it's awesome. I'm super excited. But Las Vegas episode of Stacking Dennys, third most downloaded in history. Thank you guys for listening. That's just awesome. There's number 4.
Yeah.
We didn't even set a total for this, but I am keeping a year-long total.
I love it.
I can't wait. I can't wait to make the graphic at the end of the year. Stacking Dennys, hours talked, beers opened. It's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited.
We need to get Dr. Deandra on that.
Yes.
She'll make a cool graph of that.
Yeah. But yeah, Las Vegas episode, which obviously, we definitely got off the rails there a couple times. But it was a fun episode, and I'm glad people listened to it, and hopefully you guys continue to listen to it this week. But we're on to Phoenix Raceway here this weekend, and not quite sure. We got the new aero package. NASCAR's trying to make a little bit of improvement to that. The thing is, with Phoenix specifically last year, I felt like we had really good races at Phoenix. The races that sucked were definitely the first Martinsville race, and several of the other, flat tracks. But, when we're looking at Phoenix, we're looking at short flat tracks. We always say Richmond is basically a reverse Phoenix. Very good comp track. What else we throwing in here when we're talking about Phoenix, and are we going to see the same guys up front? Because in the 2 Phoenix races last year, we saw a lot of the same guys up front, including Chase Briscoe. And we all know how good Kevin Harvick is here. Kevin Harvick is stupidly good at Phoenix. stupidly good. It has been since 2013 that he has not finished in the top 9. And that race, I'm pretty sure there was a rain caution and it ended early or something weird happened. But this guy is so good at this racetrack. It's going to be interesting to see if that continues this week. We talked about Ford and whether they're going to have the speed. Obviously, Chase Briscoe has not had the speed this year, but he won this race last year. And, as you said, Ford's aero disadvantage at the bigger tracks is not going to be as big here at the smaller tracks. But overall, what are we looking at heading into this Phoenix race weekend in this first short flat track race of the year?
Yeah, I mean, the aero disadvantage could be even less with the rule changes, but we'll get into that. I don't know. It's tough. I'm just going to point to a quote that Jeff Burton had. That again, Ryan from iFantasy Race pointed out. Jeff Burton basically said, ever since he drove these cars, or NASCARs in general, this will be the lowest downforce. Period.
Really?
Which is decades. So I need to go back and find the exact quote. I don't have it. But if Jeff Burton is saying, and you probably can hear me scrolling and clicking around like I always do. I'm going to do it right in the microphone. Give some clicks and some scrolls. This is such a big change. I got the quote here. The series has not raced this low of a downforce package for as long as he's been in the sport. A massive change from one year to the next. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. And that's what Ryan from iFantasy Race tweeted yesterday, 5:22 p.m. my time. So Jeff Burton has been in the sport since the 90s. And he said the series has not raced this low of a downforce package for as long as he's been in the sport. So that tells me these are significant changes. And that tells me I'm not sure how much we can use from last year. They say it's going to be about a 30% reduction in downforce. That actually seems like kind of a lot. Like 30% is kind of a lot. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that actually is kind of a lot, especially if another driver's saying this will be the lowest downforce since he's been in the sport for 30 plus years or so. It's massive.
Go to your job and say you want a 30% pay increase and see what your boss says.
Or decrease.
You
don't want the 30% decrease, do you?
Yes.
You don't want the 30% decrease. Yeah, exactly. So if you came to work, then drivers love it because it puts it more in their hands. But if you went to work and your boss said you're going to get a 30% pay decrease, you'd be pissed. Obviously, you'd be pissed at a 1% decrease, but 30%, that's a lot. So
does this play back? I'll tell you what. Right now, I'm all over Kevin Harvick. He's 11-1 on Bet 365, and I think this plays right back into his hands.
I don't know whose hands this plays into. I honestly do not know.
This is just. I'm saying this is. I don't have anything to back this up. This is a gut feeling. I feel like this plays back into Kevin Harvick's hands when he was as dominant as he was 10 years ago.
This is going to probably be my least bet race of the year. I will just say that right up front. I don't want to bet this, especially with how books came out with odds, and they're all garbage. But I think this will be my least bet race of the year. And just to respond to your point, you think it'll play into Harvick's hand? I've heard from so many people. I think you and I got a question about it on Twitter, but I've heard from so many people, not just the question we got on Twitter. I've seen it. I've seen speculation about it just on normal tweets, and this is going to be another whine about it, but I fucking hate the term wheelman. I am so sick of that term, I'm going to block it on Twitter. I hate the term wheelman. Stop saying wheelman. It's annoying. Every driver is a damn wheelman. What? This guy's a wheelman. That guy's wheelman. That guy's wheelman. That guy's wheelman.
Ross Chastain's a wheelman.
I don't care. What does that mean? Does that mean Joey Logano's not a wheelman? Nobody's ever said Joey Logano's a wheelman, yet he wins the championship. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, and it's annoying as shit. So anyway, but I see the wheelmen are gonna be the ones that benefit from this. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know who that benefits? I don't know.
It's just a
like I don't
it's
think
a cliche term.
I'm like worked up. This is my wine about it, presented by Louisville Wines. I'm worked up about this. I don't consider Kevin Harvick I think I know what people mean by wheelman. So I wouldn't consider Kevin Harvick
drivers.
the wheelman. Yeah, but I wouldn't consider him the wheelman under those classic terms then. He's the consistent man, the closer. And if that's who it benefits, then you're saying it benefits the non-wheelman. Other people are saying it benefits the wheelman. I don't know. I just don't know. I have no idea. I don't think we're going to know until potentially we see practice. We may not even know until we see the race. I have no idea.
Yeah.
If you expect me to know the answer to that, I should be driving a NASCAR.
And I think that's kind of the reason why books have put out the lines that they have this week, because they're a little scared on what to expect. They don't know what to expect either. And like you said, and PJ Walsh, your colleague there at Action Network, he said, you all realize we don't have to bet opening lines.
No.
Like, if there's nothing there to bet, you don't have to bet. And
a unit saved is a unit won, is what he said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, my gut instinct says I think Kevin Harvick gets back to his dominant ways. I have nothing to back that up. It's literally just a gut instinct.
Mm-hmm.
I could be completely wrong, but yeah, and like you said, even I feel like practice even last year here at Phoenix wasn't super telling at who was going to be the absolute best. Obviously, Blaney was super fast in that first race, and he led a bunch of laps. He was good in practice, but like I said, Briscoe he won the race, and he wasn't on many people's radars.
No.
So, yeah. And now,
to be fair, he won that after a whole bunch of restarts, and Blaney got shuffled back and all that. And Elliott got shuffled back because Blaney and Elliott were the best cars in the first race. Blaney was 100% the best car in the second race at Phoenix, but he played wingman for Logano, of course. So based off last year's results, Blaney would be the one to beat, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to change anything.
So the wheelmen, these aggressive guys that's what I equate it to. When people say wheelmen, I view as aggressive. Top three at Phoenix in the first race last year: Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick, all of which I think fall into that aggressive category. Yeah. So I think that's what people are getting at. Ryan Blaney, he's not aggressive. He's vanilla. And then he finished fourth in that race, and then Kurt Busch was fifth. So, yeah, that's funny. The wheelman. I just saw a tweet about it. I don't remember who it was from or what it even said. I just remember seeing the word wheelman. So it's kind of ironic that you brought it up. But,
man, I'm about to block that term on Twitter because it just grinds my gears. They're all wheelmen. They're all up there because. Maybe other than like Ty Dillon, they're all up there because they're good.
that was the softest jab. Like usually, like when we're jabbing people, it's direct. That was just like the softest. Like maybe not Ty Dillon, but
you look at. So I have something called So there's a track quality metric I have, or a track type quality metric I have. There's a driver quality metric I have. He's last in the series for me. Cody Ware's not good, but he's also in bad equipment. And Ty Dillon makes good equipment worse. Cody Ware's already just in bad equipment, and the other guys drive better than him, but he actually is better than Garrett Smithley. Cody Ware is better than Garrett Smithley, and it wasn't close when they both drove Ware cars. So
what about this last race though? Like with your flags metric,
I don't know what's going on with Cody Ware. I don't know what's going on with Cody Ware. He is off the charts bad this year. But I think if we put Garrett Smithley in the JJ Yeley car, he'd actually be not off the charts bad. JJ Yeley is not a great driver, but he's not an incompetent driver. Whereas Cody, if we put, I feel like if we put Ty Dillon in that Ware car, he'd be worse than Ware. That's my feeling. That's my gut feeling. I don't know.
Wow.
but that's my gut feeling.
Let's do it. How do we get this to happen?
I know, right? I kind of want to see.
How do we get Ty Dillon in this car?
Probably get like a hate tweet from Ty Dillon or something these days. And I actually don't dislike Ty Dillon the person. I think he's a good person. I just don't think he's the most talented Cup driver. Obviously, he's more talented than you and I sitting here blabbing on a microphone. That's not what our point is. Our point is to analyze the Cup Series from a, betting and data and fantasy perspective, and we're giving our opinions on that. So it is what it is. It's one of those things. I always see this in the fantasy football world. Somebody will give a take on on a player for like fantasy football, and then inevitably somebody will be like, at Chad Ochocinco, this guy thinks you're garbage. And it's so funny. I'm sure it'll happen because we're talking about it this week. Somebody will be like, at Ty Dillon, Jordan and Nick, well, especially Nick, thinks you're terrible.
Yeah.
I don't think you're a terrible NASCAR driver. I think you're, to Ty Dillon, I don't think you're a terrible NASCAR driver. I think you're better than a ton of people because you're the one who made it here. And you've had some very good results. I just don't think you're the best in the Cup Series. But I still like you. I think you're a good person, and I don't just root for you. I do root for you.
There's a reason you got to Cup. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. I agree. 100% agree. And there's the reason all those players get to the NFL. They're not garbage players. Yeah. They're not. But to that point, everybody's a wheelman.
Oh, I was just insinuating that the only reason he got there is because of his family.
Oh, well, then there's that. I mean, he's had some results in Cup that have not been terrible. So I don't think he's not Joe Graff Jr.
You know what's actually funny?
Joe Graff Jr. Is the worst JGR driver of all time in any series.
You know what's funny about talking how bad Ty Dillon is this week? Because historically, he's been really good at
Phoenix. Yeah.
Like, for him, he's been really good at
Right,
Phoenix.
Yeah. No, his track quality metric is very good here. Yeah. And I hope he does well. I hope he performs well. I'm a fan. I don't, like I said, I don't disroot for him. I don't necessarily root for him, but I'm a fan of who he is and what he tries to do.
What's interesting is him. He's in the second Spire car. Do you think that car is just that much worse than what Corey LaJoie has?
Yes. That's also part of it.
I think that's also a factor here.
There's also a trend where Ty Dillon has also just been the worst on every team he's ever been on. So it's part that and part the 77's also just been the worst of the Spire cars. No matter who drives it. Doesn't matter if it's Justin Haley or Landon Castle or Ty Dillon. That also is part of it. And there's, to me, I was like, okay, I don't have enough evidence yet because I always want to be like, I don't necessarily think teams are spreading their resources out that disproportionate. But that is very clearly over 3 years now with Spire, that's what's happening for 3 different drivers. So at this point, you got to say that's just the case. And so that's also part of it. Like I understand. I don't think Ty Dillon's the greatest driver in the world in the Cup Series, but there is absolutely 100% in my mind, no doubt, that part of it is he's getting the short end of the stick on the Spire side of things. Mm-hmm. Look at what Corey LaJoie is doing.
Yeah. That's not just because Corey LaJoie is a better driver. There's a definite discrepancy between those two cars. One thing I noticed looking at the entry list here, Todd Gilliland is in the 15 for Rick Ware Racing this week. Zane Smith will be in the 38 for Front Row Motorsports.
Very curious about this because this is going to very much enhance my driver quality metric because my driver quality metric compares teammates to each other. But when you start exchanging teammates, that actually gives you a better data set because instead of Todd Gilliland always running against Michael McDowell as the driver quality, now he gets to run against Cody Ware. What if you're worse than Cody Ware for a 5-race sample or whatever it is that he has this year? That'll say something. So I'm actually very much a fan of this happening. I'm not a fan of Todd Gilliland not getting to race the full season in that front row car because I'd love to see him do that. I think he deserves it, and he's had some very good results in that car. But Zane Smith is also really good based off everything I've seen. I think Zane Smith is a talented driver, not a wheelman because they're all wheelmen, but I think Zane Smith is a very talented driver.
Do we think Zane Smith is definitely in that 38 car next year then?
I think this is the precursor to that, or the precursor to maybe an RFK third car? I don't know. Zane Smith is a driver I believe should get a not necessarily a top level ride, but a good ride in Cup and potentially parlay that eventually into the top level ride. Stewart Haas Racing, if he stays in the Ford stable, makes a lot of sense. Maybe the 21 in that Burton car, if Burton just keeps doing absolutely nothing with that car. So we'll see. But I think Zane Smith is a very talented driver, and I hope he gets some good opportunities.
Yeah. Looking
Nice.
at the, right now, the only thing we have to go off of is previous track data, if we're going to pull any numbers here. And Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin both have very solid records, as well as Kevin Harvick here at Phoenix. There was a time period there that Kyle Busch went on his own little run, like Harvick went on, where he was the best car most of the time. He finished, you look from 2016 to 2019, he went second, third, second, first, second, third, just ridiculous. These last three races, he's been seventh the last three races, has not qualified well. That could be a part of it. But he has 3 wins here at Phoenix. Denny Hamlin has 2 wins back in 2019 and 2012. We've seen Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson win here at Phoenix, but you also have to remember that those were championship races, and
Like Logano's last year.
Yeah. Logano got the win here. Did he have the best car? No. But there's also been years that he's definitely had the best car. That's another guy. He's led 100 or more laps in 3 of the last 5 races here at Phoenix. So, another guy to keep an eye on. Obviously, Blaney was fast here last year. We're not going to know a lot right now until we see practice, I think.
Like I said, I've bet $5 on this race so far as the time of us recording this. I don't know. Maybe FanDuel will release odds. I keep refreshing them. Maybe they'll release props and odds and top 10s and 3s and 5s and whatever. Not 5s because they don't do that. But while we're recording, because they've done that for at least 2 of the 3 races this year. But, it doesn't seem to be happening right now. But I've bet $5, and it was a pure speculative 500 to 1 outright on Corey LaJoie maybe getting that ride. And I even put in the note for the bet, I don't recommend this. So that's why I actually don't even track it in my official RotoDoc picks or whatever. I'll add it. I just forgot to, but it's one where I'm like, I'm only doing this because there is a chance it could happen. And it'll be fun to win. What is it? $2,500 on a $5 bet.
On a $5 bet.
Exactly. Why the fuck not? So I don't necessarily even think it was plus EV. I just bet it because it would be fun. And there is an entertainment value to betting. Action Network, our company, goal, policy, whatever, we don't look at betting as everybody's going to be successful, you're going to be profitable. We look at betting as entertainment, and we make sure to take that into account in our day-to-day actions. And I don't mean actions as in the company. That's just how we're supposed to operate. We always want to keep in mind responsible gambling, making sure you stay within your means. And if you make bets, you understand the expected value of them. Even if you're listening to air quote experts, the experts aren't always right. And so my goal is to always be as honest and transparent, even though I get shit for somehow not being transparent. I don't understand it. But beyond that, my goal is to always be as honest and transparent as I can be with, I recommend this, I don't recommend that. Like Kyle Kirkwood this past weekend for the IndyCar race. I bet $550 on him because to me, that has value on if he wins this race, this is going to be a thing I hold on to forever. Yeah. And I would hope maybe I'd get him to sign it at some point, and that has value to me. So that's personal value to me, where I'm willing to throw money on it as entertainment value. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep irrationally betting Kyle Kirkwood, but I will also tell you when I think it is a good bet on Kyle Kirkwood and how much I think you should bet. And I did think it was good to bet on him at 20-1 or 16-1 this past weekend. And I think the results, while they didn't work out perfectly, I do think the speed made a lot of sense. But I will say, I bet 2.75 units on him or whatever. I think you should bet at most half a unit at this price. So I don't know how much more transparent I can get with all of that when I'm saying I'm going to throw money away here. But that's part of our company is Action Network. We're a betting company, but our motto is that betting is entertainment. So we're very much concerned about responsible gaming, responsible gambling, and transparency, and that's the whole point of the app. So when somebody comes up to me and says, you're not being transparent enough, what do you need me to do? I literally make every pick in a time-stamped Google document, and the explanation is in that. Guy gave me shit this week for not putting every bet on the Action app. We can't put every bet in the Action app. And Jordan, you have these same rules because we're verified experts. Experts can't track custom picks. So unless the pick is available in the app, you and I cannot track it. Any other Action Network verified expert, and I'm not saying a verified account because there's a difference between a verified account and a verified expert being the key word there, we cannot track custom picks per Action Network rules. So
or stale lines or anything else. So
stale lines, there's other stuff. Yeah.
And it immediately moves. We can't
If the line moves, I cannot track the line that I got. And that happens a lot. I say, hey, I got this line. I'm getting ready to track it, but a lot of sharp people are out there, and they move the line as well. I was in the process of making those Eric Almirola bets when in the Action Network Discord, everybody's alerting me about the Eric Almirola bets. I'm like, I already know. So I can't track those. I cannot track the Eric Almirola top 10. I couldn't track the Eric Almirola group because we didn't have group bets. I could not track the Eric Almirola top Ford because we didn't have top manufacturer until this week, which is coming. So it's one of those things where I have to, if I'm going to make those bets and make them as soon as possible, I will track it in my personal sheet. I'll let you know when I make those bets and link to it. But then somebody's like, well, why don't you put that in your description of your other bets? And I'm like, because the lines have already moved. Like, those lines are gone. What do you want me to put in an Alex Bowman bet that I bet Eric Almirola group? Like, it doesn't make sense. So it's frustrating because betting is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be entertainment. It's great to make money. There are people who do it professionally. I do it seriously. I wouldn't say I do it professionally, but I do it very seriously. But I will very much note when I'm also making an entertainment bet, and this Corey LaJoy bet was $5 for entertainment, and potentially make a little bit of money if it somehow happened that way.
Yeah. I mean, we can both agree you pretty much just burned that $5, but...
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone already now. I've already marked it up as a loss, but you get the point. It's like... I don't think I could be any more transparent when I put in the app, I do not recommend this.
And like I honestly don't understand people like that, and it kind of pisses you off to some point because, to be honest, what we do, we're first and foremost looking out for ourselves, and then we help other people, and to shit on us saying tweets or saying bets and tweeting them out. And questioning everything is just absolute bullshit, and at times it makes you just like hate this industry in a way, and hate the betting industry.
Yep, and I cracked the beers, and we didn't record that.
Yeah, you had it on mute.
I muted my mic. Yeah. Sorry, keep going. Just getting it for the record.
If anybody is watching on YouTube,
you'll know.
You saw it, but yeah, like. It's always the loudest minority that kind of ruin it for everybody else, and situations like that just kind of it pisses you off, and stop being shitty people. I guess that's
You and
all
I
I'm
are
gonna
also
say
not
about
the
this.
type of you and I are also not the type of people to keep quiet when somebody chirps at us like that.
Oh no.
If you're going to
Absolutely
chirp
not.
at me like that and call me dishonest and call me misleading and call me, I'm gonna be vocal about it. And it's funny because it doesn't make me mad these days. I used to. It used to.
Yeah.
Now I laugh about it. I'll still call it out, but I laugh about it now because it's like, really, like we have all of this documented stuff online, and you're still going to say that? I don't like. It's funny at this point.
It's amazing. Like I literally, after last year and after the past few years, I literally show my DFS week by week winnings and losses. If you want me to show you my damn 1099s that I get from DraftKings, I will show you that. I don't care because I have nothing to hide. I'm transparent. I don't care. I don't care. But it cuts to a core when people call you dishonest, and it happens to you a lot more than it does me. You have a wider reach with your working at Action and everything else. I could not imagine. I would probably have. I would be going on. I would get fired if I had to deal with the shit that you have to deal with. To be honest with you, because I don't handle dirtbags that well. Like, you have restraint, I don't. I don't have a filter. I'm going to call things really as they are. And kudos to you.
I have
for,
restraint
for having that restraint.
I have restraint to a point. Like I said, I quote tweeted, I responded, and people message me even from my own company like, "Oh, don't worry about that guy. Don't worry about." I'm like, I'm not worried about it. I think it's like funny. Like I point it out to point out the ridiculousness we have to deal with, and it goes for any NASCAR content creator out there. Aside from maybe one.
I mean,
who steals other people's work.
We saw all the drama today.
Yeah. And the NASCAR betting and DFS community is big. It big in a way that there's a lot of us. We don't always all get along. We don't all necessarily have to like each other, but I think we all respect each other. For the most part, I'd say 99.9% of us do. And we all came together today over an incident, and it's not worth mentioning, but I think the point is everybody out there, every NASCAR, DFS, bettor, content creator deals with that. And it's not just NASCAR, it's every sport, right? If you're an NFL bettor, content creator, you get it much more probably than NASCAR content creators do in the betting and fantasy space. So we all understand, we all know it. But it's still annoying to have it happen. Somebody calling into question your integrity when your whole life has been based around like, this is what I do. I've proven my results. Last year I couldn't track everything in the app. Actually, not tracking everything in the app last year hurt me because I made over 100 units last year. And so this year, I'm down whatever it is in the app. That's fine. But I'm up, if we look at my sheet, my Google sheet, I am up 32.9 units this year, but I'm down in the app. So again, it's hurting me, or this time it's helping me to have those things tracked. And, so it all balances out in the end. All of that is going to even out over the gazillion number of years. That variance will even out, right? I should have been up an extra over 30 units this year. Well, this year I'm down 30 units from where I probably should be. It evens out. And, what you see over my long-term average in NASCAR is going to be close enough to where it is. Obviously, 1 year, 2 years won't necessarily be representative, but and I hope, I love Action Network. It's the best thing's ever happened to me in terms of my professional career. If I'm with the company 5-10 years, you'll see my long-term all-time NASCAR record. That'll be much more representative than a 1 or 2 year sample, and even obviously, especially a week-to-week sample. And we're going to keep adding things to the Action Network app. We're going to keep adding more. It may not be this year. It may not be. We may add nothing else this year other than the top manufacturer, winning manufacturer stuff.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I know that's been a point of contention for you as well. I don't think people realize like how small NASCAR is compared to other sports for Action. So it's not getting full attention from there's limited resources that you guys have for all these trackable bets. Like, you think of how many bets you can make on the Super Bowl. Like, you can bet like everything.
Oh yeah, there was a gazillion bets that we could not get in the app because there's no way to get them in the app. So, if you're listening and you don't know the news, and you're a NASCAR fan, better in dealing with the Action Network app, we're adding top manufacturer bets this week when the new update of the app releases. Very exciting. You can bet Denny Hamlin top Toyota. You can bet, Kyle Busch top Chevy, all that stuff. You can bet Harrison Burton top Ford if you want. You can also bet the winning manufacturer is going to be Toyota, Chevy, or Honda. No, I'm just kidding. Ford. So you can bet those and track them in the Action Network app. Once our app update releases, I think it's supposed to be, by the time Stacking Dennys airs, I think it's supposed to be out, but it may be another 24 hours after that. But even if it's a little bit after that, it just means something got delayed. I'm just a predictive analyst. I have nothing to do with building or creating the app or any content that goes into it other than giving my feedback as a NASCAR expert on what I think should be in the app. So, with that said, that is a huge ask because, like you said, NFL, compared to NASCAR, the markets are not comparable. NASCAR is, I don't have numbers, but I would guess 1% of NFL. Maybe. And then there's NBA.
A little bit lower than I thought, but yeah.
I don't know. I'm
this year, with all the books taking a step back,
Yeah. NBA is bigger.
You look at NFL, you got,
NBA is bigger. College basketball is bigger. College football is bigger. Major League Baseball is bigger. NHL is bigger. Let's be real. Soccer is bigger.
And not only on offerings, but volume of betting. So who is Action going to put their emphasis on? Where they're getting the most people betting.
And our engineering, our development, our all our teams, they do an amazing job. They are so incredibly talented. They work hard. They build an incredible app, but they cannot create every single bet you want in the app for NASCAR on a whim. So thank them. Thank them for all they do. Thank them for getting this in there. Thank them for continuing to try to improve the product, because we're trying to take the biggest chunks out of what we can, because we see in our app, we get the data on what the largest markets are. And so from custom bets, we can see that. From just in general, we can see what needs to be done. And I honestly believe we're going to make the biggest gains progressively. I think Xfinity outrights will be there eventually. Truck outrights will be there eventually. But I think they're going to take a back seat to maybe potentially Cup Series groups, Cup Series qualifying. Because let's face it, Cup Series is number one, and Xfinity and trucks are a distance behind.
I have a point to make on that, if you're done with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So did you see the tweet about comparing Cup ratings and then comparing Xfinity and truck ratings?
Yeah.
Xfinity and truck ratings are up like 10, 15%. Cup is down, I think, like 10%.
Yeah.
And the tweet that I saw made a good point that was actually a better indicator of the health of the sport compared to the ratings of Cup being down. And
I retweeted that.
That's a very interesting thing to look at, because I've always thought that the people that watch trucks and Xfinity are like the really diehards. And then, Cup, you get a lot of casuals, so you're getting less casuals watching Cup. People that are going to bash NASCAR are always going to bring up, ratings are failing. There's still a shit ton of people watching this race.
Ratings are down across the board, and it's all sports. It's everything. It's TV. TV ratings are down. So the tweet you're making,
people are not watching TV as much anymore.
Is Matt Stolinek, and shout outs to him for that tweet thread, because it was a really good tweet thread. It is a product of TV ratings being down, streaming going up, right? We're all connected everywhere now. I stream Netflix or Hulu or this or that or the other. I watch reruns on those things. TV viewing is down. So NASCAR Cup, because it's so popular, it's more in the mainstream, is going to be a reflection of the general TV trend. But the diehards, like you said, Xfinity and trucks, the diehards are watching more, which is a reflection of the overall health of the sport because Cup is susceptible to those larger TV trends. 100% right, 100% agree with Matt Stolnick's tweet thread, and I thought that was a genius tweet thread by him.
Yes. And it makes so much sense when you actually think about it. And you don't get a lot of that on Twitter anymore. You know?
Can I chime in one more thing? Thing? Action Network, again. We saw it for the Daytona 500. We more than doubled the number of tracked bets. Again, 97% increase in tracked bets for Auto Club. I don't have the number yet for Vegas, but I think it was 97, maybe 93, whatever it was. It was in the 90s. So essentially we've doubled both Daytona 500 and Auto Club in terms of tracked bets. So the diehards, the betting community, it's all growing. That's awesome. And if we keep doing that, we'll get more stuff trackable in the Action Network app. We will. But we got to be thankful for what we are getting next, which is the manufacturer stuff, because that's important. That's a big one. And shout outs to our team at Action Network. I'm so appreciative of them. They do an incredible job. And I don't necessarily know if any of them are listening, but if you are, thank you.
I'm not laughing at you. I need you to check your DMs
I saw
Twitter, right? That's so funny.
I didn't know Austin Dillon is French now.
Eric Almirola, ERIK. Oh,
Autant Dillon.
Oh, this is my tweet of the week right here. Nominating this for tweet of the week. Oh man. But yeah, I think that's my takeaway from this week's episode. Don't be a garbage human being. And I'm glad that when garbage human beings get exposed as being garbage human beings, I'm very happy for it. But that's all I'm going to say on that.
Now, I honestly, even the people I've disagreed with in the betting, all that stuff space, DFS, I respect all of them. I really do. I promise you I respect all of you. Other than people who steal each other's work, which I've had my work stolen before, and it's not fun. It's not fun. Don't do that. Just don't do that. That's all I have to say about that.
And then if you get called out for it, don't deny it. Be a man. And say, yeah, I fucked up. Yeah. Yep. Or talk about your fantasy football championship or something. I don't know. But hey,
this is
we need to get
this is like, we're holding back. Let's just say that. We're holding back. We're being
the longer this goes, the less I'm going to hold back.
I know. Well, I know. I'm holding back very much.
Going to picks to win. I would just like to. I picked Kyle Busch at Auto Club. I picked Kyle Larson at Vegas, which should have been another win. Finished second though. I'm on a little hot streak for our picks to win here.
Did I pick hot? Did I pick Ross?
You picked. Yep.
Yeah, I thought so.
So you're doc blocking everyone with your picks in addition to your
just
fantasy
literally
racers.
doc blocking everyone and everything this year until I see practice and qualifying.
Yeah. So I'm going to go first this week, and I'm sticking with what I said. Gut feeling. Kevin Harvick wins this week. Phoenix.
It's so funny because I feel like you've thought about this more than I have, at least for this week, maybe for multiple weeks.
I did not think about this until the start of this episode.
Yeah, I just feel like the Kevin Harvick kind of came from a more rooted place. I have not given a thought to who I think is going to win. I have so little interest in betting this week that it's made me give so little interest in who I think is going to win this week.
Pick a wheel, man.
No. I'm literally going to pick the anti-Wheelman based off that. I don't know. I think it's pointless to pick. Like, I legitimately think it's pointless to pick Ryan Blaney.
We have to pick somebody, though. Can't say it's pointless to pick. We have to.
I just did.
It's like, I know, but you can't say it's pointless to pick because we have to. It's a tradition.
I mean, I guess I can't really pick against the guy who was the best, arguably the best, or 100% top 2 car in both races. And now if there's aero changes that are going to make aero less important when Fords are already hurting for aero, like, I don't know. I hate it. It sucks. I want to pick Ryan Blaney. But screw Kyle Petty. I'm picking Ryan Blaney.
By the way, okay, we didn't even talk about that. I don't disagree with Kyle Petty.
Oh, I do. I do.
I don't.
Oh, I
don't.
100% do. You watch
feel like
Ryan Blaney's
Blaney,
career, it's not going to be close to Casey Kane territory.
Doesn't Casey Kane have like 20-something wins?
18.
No? Oh, round up. We're rounding up.
20-something. Well, 20-something makes it sound like 26, 24, 29. Yeah.
Was it 20 or above is the question.
No, he has 18 wins. Over 529 races.
Oh.
176 top 10s.
I'm kind of there. Ryan Blaney, I feel like, is kind of a disappointment.
No, I disagree. I think he's had a lot of bad luck and extreme misfortune that'll infest his pathetic soul for all of eternity. If anybody knows that quote, then good job.
No idea what you're
I don't
talking
think he's a
about right
pathetic soul. But no, I think Ryan Blaney is a very talented driver, and he'll get his wins. He will get his. I don't have a doubt about that.
Okay, here's a question for you then. Do you think they come at Penske?
Yes.
Do you think he stays at Penske, or do you think
Yes.
he goes somewhere else?
He is the consummate Penske driver.
Vanilla
I
as
think
shit?
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much how you have to. I wouldn't say pretty much how you have to be Penske, because looking at the IndyCar side of things, I mean, Brad Keselowski wasn't vanilla as shit. He got into some shit, but he's very corporate. Very. Penske is corporate. I think it's the most corporate team in NASCAR. It's the most corporate team in IndyCar. Very, very corporate team, and I think Logano and Blaney fit that mold very well.
Sorry, I'm
just let's be real.
doing some numbers here.
Let's be real. Even a 100 or 200 race sample size is not the best, especially given Ryan Blaney has not raced for Penske for all of those races. It's just not the best sample size. We love to draw conclusions off of small sample sizes because that's all we have. But you absolutely, if you have a 10% win rate, cannot win for 2 years on a 10% win rate as your long-term win rate, right? Like it is a very real statistical possibility for a 72 race sample.
Do you know off the top of your head how many seasons Casey Kane ran garbage cars?
It just depends on what you define as a garbage car for him. But
so, like 2018, he was with Levine. I consider that a garbage car.
Yeah, that was garbage. But I don't consider Hendrick garbage car. His stint with Red Bull, it depends on if you consider it garbage. I mean, he finished, 14th in the championship. I wouldn't really consider that garbage. Petty Evernham, Gillette Evernham, whatever, all that Evernham stuff wasn't really garbage. I mean, his rookie year, he finished 13th in the standings. So I would say it was just 1 year. And so every year from 2004 to 2017, I would consider it a legitimate car.
Mm-hmm.
Which is 14-year career.
Blaney's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Blaney's already halfway there. He's 7 seasons in.
It's fair.
And yeah, he was in the Wood Brothers car there for a while, but
Blaney's also not sitting here finishing 12th, 15th, 18th, 17th, 15th in the standings.
Does it have more to do with the format? Because, I mean, you look at average finishes, 13.6,
Look at 18th and 17th in the standings. 18th and 17th in the standings are missing the playoffs.
But there was no playoffs at that. Never mind. That's 2016.
2016, 2015. Yeah, those are playoffs. 2014, he finished 15th in the playoffs. Casey Kane did. Oh yeah, no, these are playoffs. I believe 2014 was the first playoffs.
Okay, how big of a gap do you think there is between Casey Kane? Like, if you had to put a number on it,
I should say current, like almost current format of playoffs. Like obviously, there's been the chase since 2004. But Casey Kane in the almost current playoff era, because there was another tweak to give like stage points and stuff. But basically, let's say from 2014 on, Casey Kane finished 15, 18, 17, and 15 in a Hendrick car. That's not what Ryan Blaney's doing. That's just not what he's doing. I don't have his page up here. Let me pull up Ryan Blaney's page. But Ryan Blaney, since he's been at Penske, has finished 10th as a worst finish, and that was his first year at Penske. 7-9, 7-8, which isn't great, but that's not 15, 18, 17, 15. Casey Kane only once finished better than 8th in the standings.
I just get the comparison.
I don't.
Because, like, even you take percentage, top 10, top 5 win, depending on total starts, it's not that big of a gap.
Oh, top 10, there's a massive gap. There's a massive gap in top 10 percentage. 176 divided by 529 versus 110 divided by 252. Like, Ryan Blaney's almost at a 50% top 10 rate. Casey Kane is like at a third of a top 10 rate.
So, Blaney's at 41, Kane's at 33.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
I don't know. Like I said, I get the comparison.
That's a big difference. You may not think it is, but that's a big difference. If you extrapolate that to, here, I'll extrapolate Ryan Blaney's top 10 rate to Casey Kane's number of races. So Ryan Blaney, 110 divided by 252 times, let's do Casey Kane's number of races, 529. That's 231 top 10s compared to 176. That's a full season of more top 10s. Beyond more than a full season top 10s. It's almost 2 seasons of extra top 10s.
Just to play devil's advocate, up until last year, was there enough discrepancy between manufacturers that Blaney being with Penske compared to Kane in his Evernham years, that it would make a difference?
I have no idea. That's going to take me some mathing to do. But I mean,
I'm just thinking of any.
Kane was his best equipment.
Any argument here.
Motorsports, and he did his worst, honestly, in his best equipment.
But was he the odd man out?
I don't know, because who do you consider the odd man out at Hendrick right now?
Bowman.
But is that talent or is that odd man out?
Odd man out.
I would disagree based off of the results over many series. As I reach down for another beer, I don't know. I think it's a very unsettled debate, but I honestly don't think it's close. Somebody else I saw on Twitter who I find very interesting. His name is Avery Haig or Hage. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think I've mentioned him before.
I know who you're talking about.
He seems kind of young, which is a good thing because I love when young people are interested in our sport. He mentioned it's more like a Ricky Rudd comparison. I'm still not there. Like, Ricky Rudd, I feel like barely ever won, but I also could feel, very wrong about that if I look back on results. Like, Ricky Rudd, I feel like would just win like one race a year. Yeah, Rudd won 23 races over 906 starts. So I don't get the Ricky Rudd comparison. Honestly, Ryan Blaney would almost be more like a Mark Martin, if anything. And I hate to say that. But I just don't think Ryan Blaney is... I think it's hard to make a comparison for him because we don't have the most monstrous sample size on him.
I guess, okay. Do you
Kevin
think
Harvick
that
might almost be his best comparison?
Do you
Remember
think that
how
Ryan
Kevin
Blaney
Harvick was right up front and just never won things or got the championship or whatever?
But is Ryan Blaney always up front? Because his best season is 12 top fives.
It's a good question. That's a really good question. I'm trying to look at when Kevin Harvick's first 12 top 5 season was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think 2010 was Kevin Harvick's, and that would be his ninth or 10th season. 10th season was Kevin Harvick's first 12 top 5 season. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. No, I lie. 2006, he had 15. But by and large, Kevin Harvick did not have 12 top 5 in most seasons. Until 2010. And really until he went to Stuart Haas. See, it's an interesting debate. Like, I don't want to sit here and type away and tap and try to figure things out. But I don't know. Ryan Blaney's somewhere in that Kevin Harvick to... I don't know. I don't think he's a Case Kane mold at all.
I guess
I think he's way better than Case Kane.
Could you see Ryan Blaney winning a championship? Like, I feel like the hype is there for Ryan Blaney. Okay, you could.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. I think you bet on him last year to win the championship.
That's because I got really good odds.
Right.
Because
you thought that was possible at least at those odds.
No, that's me making a decent bet.
Which means you thought it was possible at those odds.
Yeah. Nope.
You just said it was a decent bet. Which means...
Because he was so good at Phoenix in the first race. And I got him at 16-1. I actually still... You know what's funny? I haven't thrown the slip away yet. It's right here. Ryan Blaney, 16-1.
That's my point, though. So you bet on him winning the championship. You can't say you can't see him winning a championship.
All right, you got me. You got me.
I love you and all, but I mean, come on. Like, come on. Can't see this guy winning a championship, but I bet on it.
You know I like arguing just for the sake of arguing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying I understand Kyle Petty's point, and I think it's closer than a lot of people are admitting.
I will say I understand his point. I don't think that means I agree with it. That's where I will go. I understand his point. I do not agree with it.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. And
it's weird because, like, we've talked about like everything on this show. It doesn't matter what. Not in this specific show, but like all of our shows combined, we just talk about whatever. We haven't talked betting. We haven't talked fantasy because, again, we're at another race where it's like, I don't know, and the books aren't offering us anything good. So what do we have to give as far as fantasy advice? As far as betting advice, it's not there. It's just not there. we will give it when we have it, and I think a large part is going to be based off practice, off feedback from the drivers in practice. Because let's be real, a large part of betting the sport is practice, especially at tracks where practice matters a lot. And this is going to be a track where a 50-minute practice, having the chance to improve your car over 50 minutes is going to be important. Where are you? Where do you lie in that 50-minute session, especially at the end of that session? And, I think you got a good question of, well, some teams tested and it wasn't quite the same package at Phoenix. How does that matter? I have no fucking clue. I think what's going to matter most is how are drivers expressing themselves and feeling, and what do lap times look like over the long run, especially in the second half of practice. And we're going to have to pay a lot. So my fantasy and betting advice is pay a lot of attention to practice. Watch it. If teams make 2 sets of long runs, you need to know if the first set of long runs is better than the second set of long runs, or the first set of long runs is worse than the second long runs, because they'll be able to adjust either way. Is the track speeding up? Is the track slowing down during practice? These are all really important things to know. You can't just rely on a 10-lap average. You can't just rely on a 20-lap average. You need to look at the trends in practice. What are the trends with each manufacturer, with each team, with beginning of practice as a whole, doesn't matter team or manufacturer, to end of practice? Is the temperature making things worse? Is it making it better? Is the track rubbering in more? Part of being a NASCAR bettor and fantasy DFS player is paying attention to every last goddamn detail. And that's why I feel like I did so well last week at Las Vegas, because I paid attention to more than just 10-lap time, right? If you paid attention to 10-lap time, you were on Blaney and Logano. But if you paid attention to what was actually happening, the tire fall off, what mattered, you got off of Blaney and Logano. So I think that's my big take. I don't have a big take going into Phoenix, other than my big take is pay attention when we actually have cars on track, because cars on track are going to be on the track literally the next day or day after. Like, obviously, practice is Friday this week with the 50-minute practice session, qualifying Saturday, and the race is Sunday. But those cars are going to be on that track that weekend for practice and then for the race. So pay attention to that.
Is practice on Friday? Because J-Ski has it listed as Saturday.
Now I'm questioning myself, because I thought
they've been
Friday.
wrong before, so I know, like,
Friday practice, NASCAR Cup Series, 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time on NASCAR's website. So J-Ski is wrong. Qualifying Saturday. Yeah, so I was right. I was right because NASCAR is right. I mean, that's what they told us. 50-minute practice session on Friday, 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time, which is whatever it is, Arizona time.
You know what's funny?
What's funny?
J-Ski's PDF that they have posted is Cup practice Saturday morning at 11:30 Phoenix time.
11:30 Phoenix time would either be like no, that's not right. That's not at all on NASCAR's website.
Are you on NASCAR.com or NASCAR Media?
I'm on NASCAR.com. And I mean, I've seen it on Twitter before. I'm 100% sure practice is on Friday.
I'm not saying you're wrong at all.
Right.
Like J-Ski's been wrong, I would guess 50% of the time of where we're at.
Bob Pocker
I think they might have
practice is on Friday. Like, that's all. If I need to know anything, I know.
Yep.
There's a reason Bob Pockris is a future NASCAR Hall of Famer and J-Ski is not.
Yeah.
Bob Pockris
J-Ski
knows everything.
J-Ski has an old schedule listed because, I'm on NASCAR Media now, and it's Cup Series practice at 7:35 Eastern time on Friday.
6:35 Eastern time.
Oh, Phoenix is 2 hours behind Eastern?
Yeah.
I thought they were
Arizona.
As Vegas.
Arizona goes from mountain to Pacific depending on daylight savings. I believe.
So that brings up another point. What the hell what does AMS stand for?
Where? What?
Like there's Cup Series.
ARCA Menard
NCS is Cup Series.
ARCA Menard Series.
ARCA. God.
Yeah. I never saw it abbreviated as AMS, but I was had
that's where I'm confused.
With ARCA. Yeah.
So we're looking at practice at 6:30. The race on Sunday is going to be at I think 3:30.
3:30 Eastern.
Yeah, or no, 2:30.
3:30 Eastern.
So Phoenix has to be 3 hours behind then, because this schedule lists the race at 12:30. Why can't they list everything in? Okay, everything's in Mountain Standard Time, so that means that practice.
So yeah, Bob. Oh no, I'm looking at Sunday. Bob says 3:30 Eastern. NASCAR.com says 3:30 Eastern.
The schedule on NASCAR Media says 2:30 Eastern.
NASCAR Media is wrong then. If NASCARRegular.com and Bob Pockris say 3:30 Eastern, I'm going to go with 3:30 Eastern.
These time zones, man. But there's a couple hour difference. Does that factor into? Do we need to?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
discount
I
anything
like,
there?
Do we how much do you weigh later practice versus earlier practice? If later practice is going to be further away from potentially race conditions, you have to look at weather forecasts. At that point, you're looking at weather forecasts, so the temperature is going to be comparable or different. So there's a lot of moving pieces, parts and pieces. I think it's a great weekend to go out and do whatever you want to do.
NASCAR.
Not bet on NASCAR. Not play Fantasy NASCAR.
I wish I was busy this weekend and not last weekend. Because like we've talked about this on the show before, I am ridiculously bad at building lineups for Phoenix.
RotoDoc wants to say hi.
Oh boy. LB.
There he is. There's RotoDoc. He's not supposed to be making an appearance, but he's getting restless. He needs his dinner. And he has not broken neck, but he has neck issues, so he's doesn't get much excitement these days. But he wanted to make an appearance, I could tell. You want to hop down?
Awesome.
We'll do dinner soon, there, buddy. Okay, let's hop down. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. But yeah, that's just another aspect of it, and I'm with you. It's a great week to. I always take Phoenix just a full step back. Like I said, I don't know why. You and I have talked about this a couple times. I don't know why I suck at fantasy at Phoenix. I just can't put a good lineup together to save my life. It's amazing.
I think Phoenix is.
But you just have tracks like that.
Yeah, well, I think I'm same with Phoenix. While it's a very predictable track, I think it's hard to keep up to date with the trend. Like Harvick was obviously always dominant, but it's like all those other drivers, like they kind of flip around, and there's certain drivers that like are so predictable that they make the R squared or the predictability of a model a lot better than the actual predictability is, because that middle part is so jumbled that however you stretch it out, it doesn't matter as long as you have the ends tightened up.
Yeah. Did you make your random fantasy racing pick?
I did. I made it after the race. I always have to Google RotoDoc random, not Google, but type in the Twitter search box or whatever it is.
By the way, I know we got a lot of comments last week about time stamping these. Completely agree. I would like to just point out it's difficult because we jump around so much.
You and I are. This is what I love about our podcast, though. Is you and I we do that. We jump around. We're not like we don't have an outline. We don't have.
This is why.
Yeah.
This is why I stopped doing timestamps on it, because it's like it's difficult. Even sitting here, like I made a conscious effort. I have a note here to put timestamps down, and I am making notes.
You do
on timestamps, but I know for a fact that these are not like good, and I know I'm missing a lot of timestamps, but we will get better at that. Anyway,
we won't.
who is your
No, we
random
won't.
fantasy?
No, we won't. Let's be real. No, we won't.
We probably won't. We probably won't. Who's your random fantasy racer?
I just
you had
tweeted
McDowell
it
last week.
Yeah, I just retweeted it because I made it 2 days ago, but it's Austin Dillon. So Austin Dillon is doc blocked for
Don't hate that.
Phoenix. And, by the way, if we look at the random fantasy standings, so I fucked up. I messaged you, and I was like, oh, my God, Kyle Kirkwood is in the lead or whatever. So, not Kyle Kirkwood, but Prince Kirkwood. There's somebody called Prince Kirkwood in random fantasy, and I thought they were in the lead of the standings. They're actually just the first person to make a pick for Phoenix. So they were number one person to make a pick for Phoenix. But they are a Kyle Kirkwood fan, which I'm a Kyle Kirkwood fan, so I ended up following them because I saw that on Random Fantasy. So now I follow Prince Kirkwood. Shout out to you for being a Kyle Kirkwood fan. You have good taste. But, yeah, as far as the Influencer Cup, I am currently sitting in 4th at 87 Influencer points. 86 is 5th, though, so I'm only 1 point ahead of top 5. I want to stay in there. But to fall out of the top 5 would be my good friend, Phil on Espanol. Phil Spain. Phil on Espanol makes sense. He's in 6th place with 69 points.
Hey, I'm in 19th.
Nice.
I'm happy.
You are. You're in 19th. You're stealing 30 of my points. See, I'd be like halfway to 3rd place if you didn't get any points. No, I'm just kidding. But you are. What if we get like double top 20s or something? Toby Christie's in
awesome.
20th. That's not bad.
Yeah.
I guess tied for 19th.
Yeah. That's weird. It goes. I wonder how it ranks that because it's not alphabetical. Because there's 3 people with 30 points.
Yeah.
19th, 20th, 21st, but they're not in alphabetical order. So how does it rank them?
Maybe by who achieved it first. I have no idea.
Yeah, that might make
probably
sense.
just by coolness factor.
So I'm on top. But
don't get me wrong, I love Toby Christie. I was just joking because obviously my co-host is the coolest. I have no idea who Lawnmower Pranks is, but that actually sounds pretty cool too. I might just follow them because of
right
now. Like this
but
is the shit we do.
My random fantasy racing pick this week is the same guy that I had for the Daytona 500, which is BJ McLeod. So
at BJ, have it your way.
By the way, we've not talked about this. So for my day job, I wrote about that BK commercial.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is the most effective marketing campaign that we have seen in the last however many years.
Oh, I agree.
I think that has it's amazing. They chose not to advertise on the Super Bowl because they blasted it so much during football season.
And it probably cost them a tenth of one Super Bowl
exactly.
ad or something.
It's
all
people
of
got
it everywhere probably cost them 1/10 of a Super Bowl ad.
People got so annoyed, but I can guarantee that they sold so many more Whoppers. I know I personally went to Burger King more often because of that ad. And that's just me.
Barely go to fast food, but yeah, it's there. So
yeah, that's all we got in fucking bumfuck Ohio.
I know
you live in Vegas.
Sorry. Yeah, Vegas has everything.
Yeah.
Come here.
He's hungry.
RotoDoc's getting worked up here. He needs his dinner and his water and his. He's almost so. For those of you that know, RotoDog injured his neck. He's just smashed his head, and it compressed his spine, and so he has a disc injury in his neck. He's a week and a half away from the beginning of his 6 to 8 weeks of rest. So he's literally just been living in my stream room where there's no furniture. He can't jump on it. I guess other than my stream chair or whatever, this chair that I'm sitting in for work. He literally can't jump on anything, and so he is a hound. He is supposed to hunt. Literally, if you go look at RotoDog, LB is his name, obviously. If you go look at his profile from before I adopted him. He was 3 years old, 3.5 years old then. He appeared on the Raleigh local news as the dog of the day. That's why he always uses dog of the day as his tweet hashtag. He appeared on the news before I ever knew who he was, anything. They said he hunts bears. So, like, he is completely, and you can hear him whining now, he's the most active dog of all time ever. And he has to just sit here and do nothing for 6 to 8 weeks. It's got to be, I know, I'm sorry. It's got to be heart-wrenching for him. Come here. Come here.
Yeah.
No. He's talking to the microphone now. LB, you want to talk some? You want to talk? Woo! Yeah, there you go. Good boy. All right, so you got RotoDoc on the Stacking Dennys podcast.
That's awesome. Yes.
Good boy.
But yeah, so we got all our picks in. We're not excited for Phoenix, but we're going to enjoy the race, as we always do. And I got nothing else. I'm all good for this episode. We went another 2.5 hours, which I don't know how we always do this, but you're muted. You're still muted. Still muted.
Hey, what? Okay, so I feel like I have to, I keep double clicking, because when I click the mute button, right, okay, yeah, so there's like a little pop-up, and I'm testing it now, that's why I keep cutting in and out. Hovering over it makes it appear, so I feel like I have to click it and then click, like, mute, and that double clicks it, makes it, like, re-click. I don't know, it's weird. The thing we have set up to do mute and unmute is a little weird. It works really well. It's definitely better than what we used to use, but I'm not 100% used to it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, we're using a new system these last couple weeks, so I like it though because we get the actual video of us, which I think the people on YouTube like because
I agree.
Views
they
have
get
been
to look
up,
at
so.
my big beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah. But hey, that's all I got. As usual, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, congratulations. I owe you a cookie or something, or
you owe my dog. You owe my dog a cookie. He's getting impatient.
Yeah. But
it's like when you say
good
like
luck to
Link snoring underneath the table or whatever, the desk.
Yeah,
that's what RotoDoc's doing this week. He's ready. He's like, I need everything.
That's awesome. But yeah, good luck to if you bet this week. If you play fantasy this week, good luck. Hopefully, our minimal analysis on this Phoenix race somehow helped you. But be sure to check our content, Nick. Where they're going to get your content at?
ActionNetwork.com, FantasyLabs.com, in the Action Network app. That's where it always is. I think there's a Discord that we have for Action Network, and I literally, if there's a bet I love, I will make it myself first, and then I'll probably post it to the Action Network Discord. Like that's what I've been doing lately. So join the Action Network Discord.
Yep,
and that's not my Discord. It's not a personal Discord. It's not a friends and family Discord. It is the company Discord. So. That's where we're going to have a lot of stuff, whether it's NFL, NBA, NCAA basketball. It's tournament time, right? So, little corporate plug there, but it's the Action Network Discord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make sure you check out Nick's content. If you want mine, RotoBaller.com. Use code Jordan at checkout. You're going to get 10% off. And
make sure to use it because I've read your article every week. I've looked at your projections every week, and they are spot on.
I can't tell you how good it feels to be back in NASCAR. Like,
dude, I'm so
fully
glad.
into
I'm so
it.
glad.
It's awesome. This is going to be a good year.
Yes, and we're only 3 races in. Like, we got a long way to go. We got 33 more races. Plus, small star race, whatever bullshit. That'll be fun. North Wilkesboro All-Star race. You and I are going to have no fucking idea what's going to happen there. So there's going to be absolutely, in my end, there's going to be no analysis, no projections, no nothing. Good luck.
Here, I'm already going to set the over-under for beers on that episode at like 18.5.
All right. We've pre-locked in 18.5.
We're just going to sit here and get hammered.
I'll take the under
But
just
yeah.
because I think it'll be a short episode.
Yeah, that's possible as well. But yeah,
Shout
shout out
have been
again,
bet down to
Luvabella
17.5.
Winery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Drink
Yeah.
this wine.
Shout
it's
out
good.
Luvabella Winery. Yes. And I didn't finish it just because I didn't want to, but I could have. The
God,
strawberry
you crushed that.
lemonade.
See, I came in. If you're watching YouTube, like Jordan's lower than me, but I already drank like a glass and a half of this before the show because I had it on Monday. Remember? So I just had a little sip. Jordan's already below me just from this show.
It was that good. I'm not lying. Like I said, I'm not a wine guy, but this was very good.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you drank that much in that short amount of time, it has to be good.
Whew. All right. Thank you, everybody that's made it this far. Hope you continue to listen. And good luck to all of you.
Don't plagiarize.
Perfect.